All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. I'm your host, Rich Prado, owner of Play in School. This is actually take two because I butchered my guest's name about 2 seconds ago. On the pod today, we have the GM from Grad Sports Baseball out in Scottsdale, Arizona, Blake Rowlett. Blake, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Rich. I really appreciate you having me on it and taking some time to learn a little bit about PGS.
Well, I'll tell you what. If for anybody who's been hanging around Travel Ball Talk, there's just over 100 episodes. You will know that pre-COVID, I had quite an interest in the academy space, right? These kids who were doing this more non-traditional high school track and jumping in and doing their their education and their baseball training sort of under one roof. I love that concept. And now all of a sudden, kind of post-COVID, I'm beginning to see a few more of these post-grad programs popping up and with just to be front and center. I work with a bunch of them. There's several of them that are on my recruiting platform, which the show's not about that, so we won't talk about that. But we've had owners, GMs, founders of several of the guys in your same space. So it is on the front of my mind, and it is something I'm very interested in, and I think it's very timely with how what I would describe as the NCAA completely kind of messing up the decision to give everybody a whole bunch of years back. So now that enters the post-grad. Can you sort of walk us through, let's back up further beyond the post-grad. Give us your background, your ball-playing background, and then walk us through how you came to be where you are in Scottsdale and the stops along the way that make sense to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm from the South, long way from home here in Scottsdale, from Clarksville, Tennessee. It's right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Ended up at 3 different colleges, which is important, which kind of built my backstory of why I do have such a love for post-grad. But I started out in Montgomery, Alabama, at Faulkner University, transferred to community college, played Jackson State there in Tennessee, finished my career, my college career, I should say, at East Tennessee State University, Division I in the SoCon. There, played for the last 2 years. After that, was kind of an indie baller for a little while. Bounced around through the American organization. Played a little bit in the Frontier as well. So, after that, after my playing career was over, I opened a facility in Nashville, Tennessee, with my college roommate. Caleb Longley is his name. He is now actually the pitching and hitting coordinator at the University of Texas. So he's doing great things as well. So did that for about a year, 9-10 months, closing in on a year. Got the itch to kind of get on the field into coaching. One of my passions, is player development, which is why I opened that facility. And then wanted to get on the field, learned about postgrad. I had no idea, Rich, to be honest with you, anything about postgrads 4 years ago today.
No, I didn't either.
And someone kind of was like, hey, look into postgrads if this is what you're kind of looking at. And, doing my research, I found one in Charlotte, North Carolina, Combine Academy. They had a head coaching position open, reached out, fortunate to get an interview, got the job there. So I was technically the executive director there and the head coach for about a year. So got very familiar with postgrads. Had another opportunity present itself here in Scottsdale, new business opportunity for me in a really, really great baseball area. Half the big leagues come here for spring training, the facilities, the things like that we get to use. Able to move out to Scottsdale, take over this program, and then I guess we're a year and a half in now.
Let me hit pause real quick. You mentioned Combine Academy. Adam Aiken from Combine was on the podcast not long ago. If anybody's curious who wants to find out more about them, they can go to playinschool.com/Aiken and that'll take you to that conversation. They're also on the platform. Good dudes working hard. Kind of interesting story, man, with the basketball, with the baseball and some other sports, and they've got this. They got a little bit of an international flair to them, and it's not just the the couple Dominican players doing baseball. They got kind of Eastern Europeans rolling through there. It's pretty interesting story. Just hearing how they tap into that, but back to post grad. First, I shouldn't go any further without saying let's connect you guys. Anybody listening can connect up with Blake on Twitter at PGS_baseball, and over on their website, postgradsports.com. You can find all the information over there. So you guys, you leave North Carolina, you get out to Arizona, and what's the first thing? Because this is a brand new program. What's the first thing you have to go do as sort of like this brand new startup?
First thing you have to do is you find players, and you find players that are passionate about development and passionate about their careers and wanting to play baseball for a long time. So the opportunity, like I said, presented itself in the beginning of June. Is when I officially took the job, and as everybody knows, college baseball season starts in the middle of August. I believe that we had 7 signed players with 11 total commitments, and I had to get a full college roster together in 2 months to be able to even make this thing go. So first and foremost, we're fine. We're recruiting, so we're getting off the ground. I was able to bring over my head assistant from Combine with me, who had a great understanding of what a post-grad was, what it meant to recruit at a post-grad, and we just go like crazy, working, 12-hour days. It feels like every day, trying to find 25 plus guys to compete against some of the best JUCOs and NAIs in the country here in Scottsdale and in the Arizona area. So, man, we're just going like crazy to fill a roster.
Now, I think just in case there's a random, mother, father, who this might be the first time tuning into to Travel Ball Talk, and they're maybe less familiar with this post grad thing than we are. Let's step back and sort of define what the post grad space is, and talk about who's coming in, where they're coming from. It's sort of like the what's happening there and what's not happening there. Because I think a few of those things, if we could just go down a bullet point list of a few of these particulars, I think it might help maybe somebody who's less familiar with the PG programs. You want to do that?
Absolutely, I can definitely. And kind of a lot of people, I have this conversation daily, I think, with recruits' families, and
I'm sure
this is a great way. This is a great way to be able to talk about it, with you guys and to a new audience. And like I said, even 3 or 4 years ago, I had the same questions. What the heck is a post grad?
Yeah.
And basically, it's a year program for players to solely focus on development of themselves as people, and most importantly, that's most important to us. And then becoming better baseball players as well. We provide facilities for lifting. We have an indoor facility, we have a field, we put our guys in apartments. So it's everything they could possibly need to make themselves a better player, with the coaches around them to tell them what they need to do, give them the guidance of hitting and fielding and weight room and nutrition and everything that comes included with being a college athlete. But the beautiful thing about a post grad is we do all these things, and you lose a year of eligibility in that process. Bingo.
So just to be super duper clear here, this is a kid who has graduated from high school, and instead of him jumping straight into the college scenario, he's going to hit pause on that and do essentially kind of like a gap year. I finished high school, but I'm not starting college. I kind of agreed with you and said 4 years ago I didn't know what this was. I should be more specific. I never heard of this within the baseball conversation, but it's super popular over in hockey. It's like it's the norm in the hockey world as far as my limited experience with hockey goes. I knew like one kid, and that's what he told me. He was a really good hockey player, and they said everybody post-grads in hockey, which makes sense. Think about how physical hockey has always been. Well, now if you translate that over to college baseball, now heading into 22, you go, think about how physical college baseball is now in comparison to what it was, when I was playing in 1998, right? So, it just makes so much sense. You get a 17-year-old kid who's expected to compete against some 22-year-old man. Good luck. Right. So the post-grad concept is basically, hey, let's get in here and let's take 12 months to get bigger, faster, stronger without burning a year of eligibility. But that eligibility's and the academic side is worth talking about. I've been on your website, and there is reference to some college courses. Can you just touch on that?
Yes, absolutely. So just to kind of fill in your gap year thing, we have multiple Canadians on our roster every year since I've been doing postgrad, and that conversation is the easiest because they understand what a gap year is because it is so popular in hockey. So that's one of the few times when we talk with recruits and families that they actually have a good understanding of postgrad. So it's just, funny that you brought that up. But going back to your academic question, so basically for those that aren't familiar with kind of NCAA clocks and for student athletes on how those work, for us, the eligibility will not start from a baseball standpoint, but if you can take classes under the full time, so 12 hours, then your clock will not start at all. So basically, you'll still have your 5 years wherever you go from here, including a redshirt year. So we do recommend. Sorry, go ahead.
So you go in as a part-timer academically.
Exactly, that is correct. So from here, you still have your redshirt year plus your 4. So we do recommend taking classes. Now, we do not offer the classes here, and mostly because we don't want it to be mandatory. So a lot of kids take those dual enrollments in high school now. Those are becoming really popular. Some kids don't take anything. So that they come in here, they can feel comfortable. They can take one class, maybe 2, 3, maybe 6 hours. They can start to work on that time management of, we run everything like a college program here. They know what they're doing all week. They know when practice is. They're taking their online classes. They have to start to manage these things. So we do find it very beneficial to take classes, but it's not something that we tell every kid when they come in, hey, you have to take X amount of hours. Yeah.
That is such a, it's so flexible. Like, and Correct. Think about what these kids are in Scottsdale. Are they taking them like down the street at a local community college, or are kids doing online programs from, whatever, maybe something in state wherever they're from? What's sort of the trend that you've seen?
Yeah, so almost every single one of ours is taking them from the state that they're from. Now with, for example, I'm from Tennessee, and we have multiple Tennessee players on our roster here, and in-state junior college is free there. So pick the cheapest option for you. And then if you're struggling finding those, then we do have multiple junior colleges around here that we can help the guys get enrolled in classes or anything else they may need. But we do always say, find the cheapest option for you, because that is not included with us.
Wait, time out for a second. In-state JUCO in Tennessee is free.
That is correct.
Holy smokes. Unbelievable. This is, I get a lot of pushback when I tweet anything challenging the idea of taking on $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 in college debt just to go play baseball. I always get crushed, and it's always by usually some college baseball coach who's $100,000 in debt. He always wants to defend that stance, and I'm like, but wait, there's ways to go to college debt-free. For example, if you live in Tennessee, you could go do 2 years of junior college for nothing, for free. It's unbelievable. That might be the most important thing I've learned all day today. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to make sure that I learned about. The first thing, and you can do this in either order. First thing is, who are y'all playing? And the second thing is, who are y'all getting to campus and how? So basically, rosters and schedules are the next two things I want to hear about. Take it in either order.
Absolutely. So, first off, I'll just touch your questions in the order you asked. So from a scheduling standpoint, there are exactly 10 junior colleges within 2.5 hours of us.
Perfect.
Here in Arizona. So that is who we reached out to schedule first. And then from there are 5 NAIs within the area. So how an NAI works is they're not allowed to play their varsity against us, just with rules and regulations. But I think every NAI in the country has a junior varsity program. And so we're playing against those schools, those kind of 15 schools as well. We do play. So this year, just a fun thing that we're able to do, which is a great experience for us. We have 6 games scheduled against German professional teams coming down to Arizona to get ready for their seasons, which is an awesome thing that we're able to do since we have a field. We can provide these things. We do not have rules against it, so we're getting to play almost professional baseball. So that's a really awesome thing that we just got there in the Bundesliga. 2 different teams coming down. So we're just trying to provide the best competition, right? We're trying to provide them to go in as freshmen next year and be way ahead of the other incoming freshmen from, a speed of the game standpoint. I mean, you and I know, and anyone that's played at the college level, how much faster it is than the high school level. It blew my mind. I just personally, the game speeds up so much. Yeah. And just to have those 40 or 50 games under your belt of that speed, man, it's just such a benefit to guys that want to actually go play and not, sit the bench for 4 years in college. That's no fun for anybody. And then once we touch on rosters, we have guys from all over the place, all kinds of different situations. We get a lot of late bloomers, and I say that in 2 ways: of age, right? We have kids that are still, just turning 18, came in the program, were 17 for a couple months. They wanted their bodies to develop, things like that. We have late bloomers that were 78 when they started their senior year of high school. And just the world that we live in today, 90s even slow to some of these schools, and so they're 78 then, and now towards the end of their senior year, they're, up 83, 84, 85, but most of these schools have filled up, and they come to us, and that 83, 85, is fortunate to turn to 87, 89 or higher, and now boom, you have a place to play in college. So, and then we do have, obviously the academic situations, someone who might have pretty good grades, but it's a bad test taker, and their ACT score's not where it needs to be. Or vice versa, the grades weren't very good. They really want to get to this school. Boom. So we have kids from all over, let's just say a wide range of spectrums that are able to come to us. And, the first thing that we recruit, is people, because this is a lot of work for our program. We're practicing 2 to 3 times a day, 5 days a week. And we need to know that we have the right people here that are development focused, that are coachable, right? And that we can love and teach them how to be very successful in college and moving forward in their lives. So those are the things that we look for in recruiting.
Yeah, I can imagine, compare and contrast. You're at a public high school and there's some kid who you don't jive with. Well, you only have to see him for a couple hours a day. Compare and contrast that versus some kid you're going to be living with, eating with, working with all day long for an entire year. What a disaster. What a disaster. So, yeah, recruiting people first. Definitely want to make sure you're bringing somebody who's going to be, somebody that you can just be around. I mean, that's like the main thing. Can I be around this person all day long?
Right. And are they going to be a good teammate for the others? Are they going to make training fun and push people to get better? That's really what it's about. It's finding a way to compete in a world that wins and losses aren't the end-all be-all. Can you still compete every day and make yourself and your teammates better?
Yeah. I want to go back to the scheduling. So you mentioned there's basically right there within a couple hours, you've got these 15 college programs that are sort of like where you start creating your schedule. Are most of these... Correct. Are these double headers? Are you playing 3-game sets? are you doing almost like a high school season where, hey, we're going to do a home and home? How do you lay that out? What's the total number of games that you project in a spring season?
Absolutely. So, that's going to be really hit or miss. We're never really playing set series with teams just because, they're in conferences, right?
Sure.
They're in their conference plays. We obviously are not in a conference. So we're playing a ton of, I think almost all of our games this year, Monday through Friday, right? And they do have their weekends.
That makes sense.
Kind of booked and things like that. So we're playing a lot of Tuesday, Wednesday doubleheaders, or we play. So a lot of the NAIs like to play on Monday. Mostly, they just came out their weekend. Their JV guys or maybe a couple guys that didn't get reps or they need to work through their weekend series. We play a lot of games on Monday, a lot of games on Thursday to help. They want to get ready for their weekend series. So we're playing a lot of Monday, Thursday. A lot of the junior colleges want to play that Tuesday, Wednesday doubleheader or 4 games in a row there, doubleheader. So that's a lot of kind of how our scheduling works. And, we're going to play anywhere. I think we have 42 right now, and we'll probably stick around there. We might add 1 or 2 through the spring, but that's kind of how that works.
Got it. Very cool. Here's what I want to do. I want to transition over to this set of sort of standard questions that I ask, and I always, sometimes I say I don't know why I ask the same questions of all these people each week, but it's so awesome getting different answers to the same questions, and sometimes actually the same answer to the same question is so reinforcing. So let's just talk about some of these. The first one's sort of like the softball. What book or movie, website do you think every coach should be reading? Or watching.
I thought about this. I was thinking about this question, and to be honest, there's so much in social media these days. With you just go on Twitter and click Twitter Spaces at the bottom now, and there's so many coaches just talking, and there's just amazing information, right? And ABCA coming up with the coaches clinics and the websites, and there's just these books. So I thought that there wanted to go to one of the books that's kind of my staple for when I was wanting to make the transition from in the class or like in the facility, to coaching on the field. And the first person that I had called when I got this job was my old high school coach. And he's one of the people that recommended me this book, and he was all about, recruiting people. And it's called The 4 Agreements. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it. It's a pretty popular book. It's by Don Ruiz.
I have not heard of this. 4 Agreements.
Okay. That is correct. It's called The 4 Agreements. It's a coaching book, but it's not necessarily baseball coaching. It's just a leader book.
Yeah.
And I think that all great leaders, have, a lot of the same things in common. And basically what this talks about is the author kind of lists out different things. The first one is probably the most powerful to me. It's to be impeccable with your word. That's number 1. I can list all 4.
Yeah, do it.
If you guys need to.
Yeah,
so,
please.
Like I said, number 1 is to be impeccable with your word. And I'm going to touch on that one a little bit more in a second and kind of what that means to me. But number 2, don't take things personally. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of coaches can do that from players. That was something that, you have to kind of set your pride aside, and I did especially. Number 3 would be don't make assumptions. And then, like I said, if you go to this book, there's multiple, obviously there's a ton of pages on all of these that breaks it down. But then number 4 is just always do your best. And that can mean a lot of different things. But I do want to talk a little bit about number 1, which is, to be impeccable with your word, and why I'm going to bring this book always just stood out. There's a story in there that's talking about a mom that's driving her daughter to school. She was, I can't remember. It's been, I guess, a year or so since I read it, but I think she was in middle school. And she's having a really bad morning, fighting with the husband, all this stuff. And the daughter was singing in the car, and she was a phenomenal singer. And she just snapped on her. I was like, "You're a terrible singer. Stop singing," because she was in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And the daughter never sang again. And she was an awesome singer, right? She could have had a career, a future in singing. And did she mean those? No, she didn't mean that at all. She let her day and her outside being, impact what could have turned out to be an impressionable person's, career. So that's just one of those things, and that's just a little example of kind of what's in that book, and us as coaches, coaching the 18-year-olds that we are. We have mostly 17 to 20-year-olds in our program, and those kids are super impressionable. And as coaches, we can't let our outside life dictate what we say to them, and can't just say things, that we don't mean.
I'm ordering this book as we speak.
It's a good one.
Might be. We've had a lot of good recommendations this year. I think this year is when I started doing these standard questions, and we've had a lot of really good recommendations. This is the first one I've ordered on the spot. So, man, I really appreciate you mentioning this and talking about it. And order placed. I got it for $6.12 in paperback off of Amazon. If anybody wants to go track that down, very cool. I've never heard of that book, so looking forward to checking that out when it gets here. Cool stuff. Is there that was sort of you led with a really strong one. Is there a second one you want to mention, or are you going to stop while you're leave while you're ahead?
I think that's what they say, right? Stop while you're ahead.
Yeah.
But I can stop it. But I'll just say this, that if you really need good reads and good things, me personally, I'm more of a podcaster like this, a great podcast. I like to find podcasts and listen to things when I'm driving to practice or driving around or at the gym and things like that. So I would just say to try to find something new. We tell our kids in the recruiting process to every week find a school that you've never heard of and research it. That's what I've tried to do with coaching as well. Mm-hmm. Is find a new podcast every week and try to listen to it. So that would be my next suggestion there. All
right. Well, I'm going to give a plug to my buddy Jack Warren, who has come out of retirement. He's the grandfather. He is the host of Top Coach podcast. He's probably got 300 episodes, interviewing mostly college baseball coaches. It was the inspiration to get me started with Travel Ball Talk. He told me to do it way long ago, and it took me a long time to finally figure it out. But Top Coach has just now come out of retirement. He's back on the airwaves. His first interview out of the gate this week was featuring Scott Jackson from Liberty. So go check out Top Coach if you don't already listen to it.
I've already written that one down.
There you go. Top Coach Jack Warren.
I will be.
Yeah, super great guy. He's a buddy of mine. He's a great person. All right, next question. We're going to jump around a little bit. You have direct experience with this, so this would be pretty hopefully pretty good advice coming from. But what's one piece of advice you'd give someone who's just starting? Just the question reads as just starting their team or organization or opening up a facility. You've done a little bit of all of those. So what's that one piece of advice you're going to give that person as they're starting or before they even start?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I did open a business, an indoor facility, and pretty young. I was, 23, 24 at the time that I opened this with like I said, my college roommate who was the same age as me. So we did a lot of things right, but we made our share of mistakes as well. So I did get to learn from myself, and when I say this, I truly mean it. But one of the things we did right, and I would recommend for everybody, right, is just not to think about the dollar signs at the end of the journey, because that's what, when we are opening a facility, it's like, where can I place this to make the most money? Right? What can I set my price at to do this? But if you really think about the players first, what's best for them, how they can actually get better, they'll continue to come back, and they'll continue to want to join your team, right? Or join your organization or renew at your facility or continue to come for lessons. But if you actually set out with the main goal of making your players better and having their best interests, giving them the best resources to continue to grow and get better as a player every day, then that's when you'll have a successful facility or travel team. So that would be the most important piece of advice, far and away, for me, for anybody trying to start a facility or organization.
Yeah, that's sound advice right there. Now, I totally anticipate that we're going to see some competition in your specific niche of this post-grad space. Do you have any advice for those folks who are, looking at getting this thing off the ground in the next 12 to 18 months?
First thing I guess I would say, find a good area. I think location is very important. I believe that you and I talked to this, off air. You need to find, a place with junior colleges around to play, NAIs around to play. If you're in an area where you can't, you can't play anyone,
for
it
sure.
makes it pretty difficult.
Yeah, study the map. You got to study the map. You can't. I love this concept, man. We talked about that, and I've had several guests on the show who are running post grads, including Roger Wilkinson from Scouts USA recently, and man, I'm jazzed up about the concept. I think it's so timely for where our game is going. But I live in Richmond, Virginia. There's no one to play. There's very few JUCOs in a close enough area, and and of course, and a lack of NAIAs as well. So it doesn't work here. So I'm not going to do it. But good luck to the folks who are about to jump into this endeavor. I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's going to help a lot of people, right? Like at the end of the day, like that's why you're in business, is like to help people. And if you help enough people, and you help them enough, then the business will be fantastic, and you'll make money because you're helping people.
Exactly. That's spot on.
Yeah. This last question is, it's specifically towards the travel ball world, which you've been in and around a little bit, but maybe we can just zoom out a little bit. The question reads as follows: what one change could be made to travel baseball that would have the biggest positive impact? And you guys aren't exactly travel baseball, and I get that, but like if we zoom out a little bit and just leave that out of the question, like what thing, if given the magic wand, what change can you make in this amateur baseball space that you think would have the biggest positive impact?
So really, you're talking about a post-grad standpoint, even on this. I do look at everything, I guess, through that lens, but I did partner when I was with the facility. We partnered with the Nashville Knights, which is possibly, the biggest organization in the South, 35 plus teams and things like this. So I did have an in-depth look at what a great travel organization, looks like. Yeah. And success on that, and now transitioning over to this space where we talk to recruits every day. And one thing that I necessarily wouldn't change about travel baseball, but I would add, is once you get to the 16, let's call it 16 and up phase of travel baseball, I would really start to interpret more of how to, talk with college coaches, how the recruiting process works, and just start to really inform kids on like what to expect when a coach calls, or what to look for in a college. And, because if you're talented, you're going to have, you're going to have offers, you're going to have schools reach out, and what to look for. There's so many things there's so many questions we get, and there's so many kids that come into us and they start getting, reached out to by, X university, and they're not sure how to answer these questions, or what to look for in a school, how to research schools, different things like that. And that's their future. That college of 4 years is massive for them. Yeah. So if we could just implement a little bit more of teaching the recruiting process, and how to, speak with coaches, how to act, how to dress, how to little things that could help them in the long run.
Maybe I'm thinking about this too deeply, but it seems like a lot of the coaches in this space, in the travel ball space, they get hung up, and the parents and the kids do too. But I think it's a lot of coming from the travel ball coaches. They say, well, we're teaching them about recruiting. And I'm like, no, you're teaching them about a recruiting calendar. Like that's
right.
Like that's so not different. That's not a, honestly, those recruiting calendars are for the college coaches. They're not specifically for kids. Like, does it help to know why your phone call didn't get answered? Sure. Okay, cool. But those rules are for the coaches, not for the players.
Exactly.
And so what I hear when I hear you answer that is like, who are the coaches who are doing like mock phone calls? Are we setting up mock phone calls with quote unquote college coaches, right? So that, think about it like reps. Like you would never just jump into a game against a guy throwing 92 to 94 cold without some pregame tee work, soft toss, BP, and of course you've had practice all week doing the same thing, and then all of a sudden it's Friday night and you're underneath the lights and you're ready for 90 plus. But like most of the time these kids jump on that first call with that first college coach, it's literally their first rep. Like, let's give these kids some reps so that they go into their first call ready to go. And, if you think about the job search world, you get mock interviews. Like, that's part of the preparation of looking for work. And I'd love to see some of those types of tactics implemented, from the organizational standpoint. So yeah, man, I think I think the answer you gave is really strong, and 100% agree, 100%.
Right, and another thing is it's not just doing those mock calls and things like that would be really beneficial, but it's not just the parents' jobs, to have their sons research the schools and things like that. It's the coaches that have played in college to have them a true understanding of what to expect.
Yeah.
And not just the name of a school shouldn't matter. I just see so many kids and getting to work with really high level athletes that just want to commit to a school because it's
they recognize the basketball team from ESPN.
Exactly.
Right.
But is that something, do you have a good relationship with the coach that's recruiting you? Do you, do they have a possible major that you want? Is it in a city that
right.
If you have a couple of, offers and opportunities, these are things that they need to understand how to look at so they're not miserable for the next 4 years.
Right. Is it the right size? Is it in the type of geographic setting that you desire? Is it in your price range, right? Like, these are the things you hope that the families are discussing, the player and their travel ball organization or post-grad organization is discussing. What tends to happen is coach likes kid, he likes the kid's bat, and now the kid likes that school because the coach likes his bat. Like, it's really reactive. Whereas I would love to see kids that really know what they want, what they need, and what they're looking for, what they can afford, and make decisions based on that, right? Like, obviously this involves a kid who's going to be liked by multiple schools, right? Like, so that goes without saying. Well, listen, is there anything else that, whether it's about, post-grad sports or coaching in general that you feel like you want to share with the audience? Because I think you've got an appointment here soon, and I've got a coach's clinic to get to in a little bit. So we're gonna start wrapping this up.
No, absolutely, and I did want to just say that those that aren't familiar with the post-grad route, they might be listening in, and we just talked about the recruiting side of everything. That's a huge part of what we do, right? We have the flexibility to meet with our guys, right? We're not under NCAA rules, regulations of how much we could practice, how much we can have one-on-ones for those that are familiar with how that works. But we have a ton of meetings with our guys on how to research schools. Like I talked about earlier, bring up a new school or two a week that you've never heard of, different things like that. That's just something that we do take great pride in because we want our guys not only to get to the next level, but to succeed at the next level. And, I would love to see that more implemented in high school, and higher level travel ball is just to make our jobs even easier, but just so we can continue. And the more information we can give kids, the better. But that's kind of the last thing that I have. And hopefully everyone's got a pretty good understanding of kind of what a post-grad is now, and hopefully all the benefits that can come from it.
Wonderful. Well, Blake, I appreciate you coming on and sharing post-grad sports baseball with us today. It was good, kind of getting to know you and learning about the program. So we'll stop the recording. Don't hang up yet. Hang on one more second for me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, Rich. Appreciate you.
You got it.